afternoon. So we're on our third day of Sesshin, and the third week of our practice period, 1 month practice period. It's very traditional that they say that the third day of Sesshin or sitting meditation intensive, you have like a second wind, you know. This second wind is when the second wind comes when there's nothing left. So nothing left means it's something is working that's not our own, you know. And the second wind could come in many ways too. So we keep on moving forward. So of course, when I started to study this morning, the studying goes all over the place, and then it starts to touch many different things, and it's very the practice is very profound, and it's very like far-reaching that we cannot understand it, but we try to understand it. This trying to understand is actually a lot of a wasted energy and time. So I wanna talk about Dogen's kind of his approach. Dogen is actually the founder of our lineage, of the Soto School, and he lived in the 1200s, and he returned from China to Japan in 1227, and he at that time I believe there was two main schools kind of under new Buddhism, and one was called the Nippon Dharma, and then one was Zen, which included the Rinzai and then the Soto. So Esai, who was at Kaninji, the temple that Dogen returned to in Japan in 1227 and wrote the Fukaza Zengi. He had a student, a Myozan, that Dogen studied with Myozan at Kaninji. And at that time, I forget the teacher's name of the Dharmashu school, but he transmitted to many students, but he didn't go to China. So he sent some of his students to go to China to get his certificate and his many during that time then many of his students then they actually they joined the Soto Zen School that Dogen started to create, and Dogen's idea of creating something new, he didn't want to create anything new, and so he had his awakening, or his from his teacher, his enlightenment from his teacher Tendo Nyoze, and that was at the Tentyong Temple. And so he, when he came back, then he wrote the Fukan Zazengi, which is the universal principles for sitting zazen. And these principles, at the beginning, I didn't, long time ago, I didn't understand the Fukan Zazengi, but I'm just starting to understand. Actually, the more I continue to sit, so it's something that the practice has to be. There's effort in it, and at the same time, there has to be like a constancy. So I was in the wilderness, went hiking with Eiheiji, and we went hiking on up these waterfalls, and we could see the waterfall had made holes in these rocks, like holes in the rocks, and that's just from like dripping. So it's probably like a long time it takes for water to go through a rock. So it's a constancy of practice that creates a foundation, or creates an anchor in which then we start to relate to the world, or use our sitting practice as a foundation in which we live our everyday life. So of course in the Buddhist writings, then they talk about like making fire, somebody making fire from two sticks, and you have to have it a certain speed, and you can't let up, and it's really easy to let up once you leave the zendo, then so this is important about not turning your back on your teacher. Or they say you should follow your teacher, but in our school, the teacher comes from actually this self, this living life that you live. And when this self, when it fully lives, then it lives the life of the entire universe, or all things it lives. So this is an important teaching. So the schedule could be quite hard and relentless, but that's if you do not give in to it, and you have ideas on how you can navigate the schedule. We navigate the schedule, right? You walk a certain way so you could cut off a certain amount of minutes, to get to the zendo, or maybe you won't wash your face at night, and that'll give you 5 more minutes to sleep. All those are the conditioned mind trying to create these pros and cons in which we navigate our life. But through zazen, and using zazen as a foundation, then we start to become actually in relationship with the outer world from the inside. So usually we look at the outside, and we want to know everything, so we study everything on the outside, but then we do not know how the depth of actually this self, and how it relates then to all things. and it's different, but at the same time it's the same as everything. So the sitting practice is yeah, it's you can't you can't experience you can't experience the flavor or the spirit of Buddhism without actually sitting. That's the main thing. The main thing in Buddhism is actually the sitting practice of just sitting down and actually not creating anything. Of course, we have this mind that creates everything when we're sitting, watching movies and talking to friends, making plans, probably painting, trying to figure out how you're going to paint the water tanks. But all this then it's the self that's also expressing the self of the universe. It's the expression of the universe that even this thinking that we do, it's the realizing of the universe. So at nighttime during Ango, we recite the Fukan Zazengi, and they do it all around the world. And at Eiheiji, I remember after I think we had one period of sitting at night, and then the lights would go on. It's like these fluorescent lights. They turn on these lights, and it's just like really institutional, and the ping, ping, ping. And then everyone's, it's bright, and you hold your sutra book out like this, and it has to be straight. Otherwise the supervisors will correct you how you hold it. And at the beginning, I think it says tazu nuru nisore, which means after exhaustively searching or seeking. So after exhaustively seeking, which we try to do actually on when we sit, we're searching for something, but that's not it. We're searching for something, and that something then is outside of this self, or actually the selfing or the universe self. This something that we create in our mind through our identity, through you would say through this I, then we create something in which we're searching for. So this, in a sense, this searching is it at the same time, but you have to exhaust it, and then this exhaustion, something comes up, which is this, you would say, you would say that this calm or wisdom that's then it's not yours that you create. It's not you don't create it, but you then feel something that's different, and then it's connected, and it's a wisdom then that comes throughout all things. Then they start to help you in a way. It's not you're not separated from everything. See, I think I'm just going to read just a first couple lines of the So after exhaustively searching, the way is originally perfect and all-pervading. How could it be contingent upon practice and realization? The Dharma vehicle is utterly free and untrammeled. What need is there for a concentrated effort? Indeed, the whole body is far beyond the world's dust. Who could believe in a means to brush it clean? It is a never apart from you right where you are. What use is there going off here and there to practice? So the way is actually the perfection of wisdom. It's the completeness of everything, the way. So it's not a way, it's not a way that we think is the correct way. Of course there's a standard, or there's a way to drive. Oh, we use Google Maps, so a way to drive from A to B is usually the shortest. We try to get the shortest point. Sometimes I talk to Kashin in the car, and is that the fastest way? It's kind of ridiculous, but we start to talk about the A and the B being the fastest way, the most direct. But that becomes through efficiency, or a way that we walk in society, how we dress, how we relate to each other in different cultures it's all a certain way, but then it's by rules and institutionalized government rules, these ways. But the way is actually facing the way in which our ancestors, the Buddhas and ancestors, walked. So that's when we practice in this, you would say, in this aim. In whatever we do, actually we actually offer our wholehearted devotion to all the people that have practiced before us, and then we walk this way. Yeah, this is so the Fukan Zazengi, it's actually the first writing that Dogen wrote, and all of his writings after it are basically commentaries on different views of actually Zazen. It's just totally amazing what he did. All the, there's like 75 fascicles that he wrote about the different ways of viewing Zazen. And then the Fukan Zazengi, or all the commentaries of the Shobogenzo, is basically, it's the philosophy of the Buddha Dharma, how the world looks, how we view the world from Zazen. Also the structure within Zazen, what is the structure of our life, and it's also then the attitude and the posture that we bring to actually our everyday life. So going back to this, the foundation of sitting then is something that's very interesting, because the subtleness that we experience on the cushion when we have these thoughts and they slowly start to settle down, then we can feel ourselves and also feel our heartbeat. Also we can feel pain in our body. We could feel our breath. We can see maybe the subtleties then of the inside, regulating the body inside. Even thoughts, they become more settled, but then you could see the thoughts come come and go, and also the subtleties within this sitting. Then when we do everything in our everyday life, then it comes to this subtle qualities of even like opening a book, or actually how we do oryoki. It's as simple as that. So we are, you would say, relating to the world in a way that it's one activity, but at the same time, then we are separate, but then we're one at the same time. So to feel your oryoki bowl, to just feel your oryoki bowl, and then eat out of the oryoki bowl. Have the utensil, actually touch the bowl, not like scrape. We're trying to scrape it, or we're trying to put the food in your mouth, but just have the spoon help, or have the food jump in your mouth. These are, so it's not you that's doing it, but then it's this whole thing about then the relationship of actively participating. So it's not through me and this, but then that's why we have so many forms. Is so all these forms then allow one to actually forget the self and drop it all. So that's why it's really important. So when we sit, when we bow, everything should be spot on. And spot on, I mean, so you do it correctly, but it's a way that you do it in which then something appears that's not yours. So that's why they call it Soto Zen is very precise, and it strives for. Oh, isn't Shunryu's name is it that excellence? Is Shunryu? Shunryu, yeah, is flourishing excellence. Shunryu Suzuki is flourishing excellence, and that's actually the aim that we do, is this preciseness, and it's not good or bad. It's beyond that, and then that's the way then the Buddhas and ancestors, they walked this path. So it's cultivating something that's very, very deep, and then it becomes your everyday life. So it shouldn't be just in the Zendo. It should be when you're walking in Costco, or you're at Target, or you're in a traffic jam. I remember for years we were driving Eiheiji to school, and I remember, maybe this was a couple years ago, it was on Summerfield Road. They had a construction project, so it would get really backed up. And so, of course, I needed to be back at the Zen Center at a certain time, so I was one of the aggressive ones. So I was pulling ahead, and doing my thing, and then this person, I thought that they cut me off, so I kind of got mad, and then started to get into it. Then I thought, feel the steering wheel, right? And then bow to that person, whether they cut you off or not. And then the person they let me by, and it was all my wrongdoing, you would say. So wherever you go, then you start to practice that in your everyday life. Or it could be as simple as placing your alarm clock by your bed. So all those things are then the qualities of your sitting practice, and then how you relate to yourself, and how zazen is manifested just on the cushion. And it has to be immovable and completely still, on the cushion, because it's creating a container in which then you cannot move from this self that's deeper from what you think. So this is like being, it's being contained, but when we're contained, we want to go this way and then that way, but we need to stay there until you would say the meal is served. You take off the lid and then the meal is served. I'm going to read something from just Dogen's writings. It's just amazing, Let me just read. For all ancestors and Buddhas who have been dwelling and maintaining the Buddha Dharma, practicing upright sitting in Jiju Zanmai is the true path for opening up enlightenment. So this is Zazen. Both in India and China, those who have attained enlightenment have followed this way. This is because each ancestor and each disciple has been intimately and correctly transmitting this subtle method and receiving and maintaining its true spirit. So its true spirit is then looking actually how deluded we are on sitting on this cushion. That's this true spirit comes from that. The straightforward Buddha Dharma of just sitting has been simply transmitted, is supreme among the highest. From the time you begin practicing, you just sit, dropping off body and mind. It's like when one displays the Buddha mudra with one's whole body and mind, sitting upright in the samadhi even a short time, everything in the entire Dharma world becomes Buddha mudra. And all space in the universe completely becomes enlightenment. Therefore, it enables Buddha Tathagatas to increase the Dharma joy of their own original grounds and renew the adornment of the way of awakening. So this is so when the self becomes the self of the universe, then that's when all things then start to illuminate, or they actually start to work together. So of course it's your wholeheartedness, but it's then becomes the wholeheartedness of actually impermanence and actually the working of reality. see. Increase the Dharma joy of their own original grounds and renew the adornment of the way of awakening. Simultaneously, all living beings of the Dharma world in the 10 directions and 6 realms become clear and pure in body and mind. Realize great emancipation and their own original face appears. At that time, all things together awaken to supreme enlightenment and utilize Buddha body immediately go beyond the culmination of awakening and sit upright under the kingly Bodhi tree. At the same time, they turn the incomparable great Dharma wheel and begin expressing ultimate and unfabricated profound prajna. There is a path through which the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, the incomparable awareness of all things, then returns to the person in Zazen. So it's this, it's the echo hensho, or it's this returning, it's the second wind. It's this returning of this wisdom that then we start to receive, and it's exponential. It's exponential. Then the more you are, where you stand, then you start to transmit, and then you start to receive at the same time. So this transmitting is transmitting to yourself. It's receiving also from the Buddhas and ancestors. It's the great transmission is the Zazen, is the teacher. Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, incomparable awareness of all things, returns to the person in Zazen, and whereby that person and the enlightenment of all things intimately, imperceptibly assist each other. Therefore, this Zazen person without fail drops off body and mind, cuts away previous tainted views and thoughts, awakens genuine Buddha Dharma, universally helps the Buddha work in each place, as numerous as atoms. So these are all the worlds within the worlds, atoms within atoms. It's amazing. Where Buddha Tathagatas teach and practice and widely influences practitioners who are going beyond Buddha, vigorously exalting the Dharma which goes beyond Buddha. Yeah. Therefore, all things at this time, the earth, grasses and trees, fences and walls, tiles and pebbles, all things in the 10 direction Dharma realm carry out Buddha work. Therefore, everyone receives the benefit of wind and water caused by this functioning. Yeah. I think that's I will stop there.